All right, I think we are live. We got the connection going. Welcome, everybody. It's Tuesday, August something, August 19th, and it's 5 o'clock. I'm in California. My name is Mike Patel. My channel name is Home Savvy Central. If you're coming here for the first time or will be watching this as a recording, welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about home prices set to crash as buyers vanish nationwide. And I don't mean to be a negative topic or negative storyteller, but we're going to give you facts because there's a lot of topics out there. Housing market is crashing. Housing market is not crashing. Home prices are dropping, and some say they're not dropping. But I put this topic for a reason. Some of the things we will be discussing today with a guest, and I'll introduce the guest also, is what does that mean for your home's value if you're a seller and if you're thinking about selling? And if you're a first-time buyer, are you buying at the peak if you buy right now, or the price is still gonna go up, or are they gonna start going down should the interest rates drop? And then we'll talk about some national forecast shows there are some mild dips. There are definite dips in certain metro areas. So we'll talk about certain areas, and there's certain increasing prices in certain areas. So we'll talk about all those, and I have a few more topics, interesting articles to talk about. But to get started, I wanted to welcome Caitlin McKeague. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I've known her from her YouTube channel, which I've watched many times. She is in the Phoenix area, working for the Real Brokerage. So Caitlin, if you can introduce yourself and what's your specialty and tell us a little bit about your area so our guests can get to know you, and then we'll jump right into it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yes, as Mike said, I'm in the Phoenix metro area, and I work with a team here. We support buyers and sellers in the area. My YouTube channel covers mostly the Phoenix area, but I do cover some national topics as well, kind of similar to Mike, talking about real estate trends out there, sharing articles and news, and helping educate our clients on what's going on so they can make the right decision, with real estate, whether it's buying, selling, or investing. So that's me. That's about it.
Okay. So tell us, I know that we're going to talk about national, and each market is different because, like they say, the market is local. But what's happening in general, if you compare this year, this summer compared to last summer or fall, what's happening in the Phoenix area, price-wise, inventory-wise, the mood-wise? What are the sellers saying? What are the buyers saying? Just so that we know what's happening in Phoenix, and I'll give my information on Southern California, and then we'll jump into the national.
We've had a little bit of an interesting year because at the beginning of the year, we saw inventory rising pretty rapidly, higher than we've seen in many years. And so that really slowed down the market a lot. In Phoenix, we tend to see the spring season being the busiest, and sellers have the most opportunity for getting the highest prices. And that was a little bit stifled because there was so much competition on the market with a lot of other listings. And then as we got into the summer, the inventory started to go down, which was a little bit of a surprise to everyone. We tend to see more inventory kind of increasing in the summer because our buyer demand goes down. So our year's been a little bit different. We've also seen prices come down about 4% since March. So things have softened. Nothing's crashed, but we're definitely curious on what will happen in the fall, because we usually have a little bit of a rally in the fall before the holidays. But I think some of that's going to be dependent on mortgage rates and where our inventory goes.
I see. Okay. So I see. So, but I know the inventory is increasing quite a bit there. Even here, it's increasing a little bit,
It's on a downward trend now in Phoenix, and has been since the end of May. So I don't know. We'll see. It was going up.
The inventory is decreasing again. It was up and that is going down. Which means that they're selling, I'm assuming, unless sellers are pulling back.
Yep. I mean, they are selling. I think sellers started to pull back too, because there was just a lot of discouragement. You're just not seeing the prices that you want. So a lot of those sellers who didn't have to sell decided just to take it off the market.
Okay. I see
Yeah.
you have some fans here. Casimiro K. Shout out to Phoenix. Yay, go Phoenix. Yeah.
Yay, Phoenix.
Yeah. Okay.
How
Okay.
is that similar to what's going on in your area, Mike?
Well, in our area, we had an office meeting today. In office, how brokerages, we discussed with other agents and other reports. One thing's for sure, in Southern California, I'm in Orange County, to be specific, in Anaheim Hills, 10 miles from Anaheim, Disneyland. And the days on market has increased to 88 days on the market, which is pretty significant because last year it was near 30 days. And in the peak days in 2022, 23, the peak, it was like 21 days, 15 days. So it's taking a longer to sell. One of the things we found out in the office meeting today is that 3 of the agents had open houses. So, the managers ask you, how was the open house? How was the traffic? So here's a stat that was astonishing to me, maybe not to everybody. One agent, it was a brand new listing, first time on the market. They did it on a Saturday where there's more traffic than Sunday. And they actually had 15 groups come in, some with agents, some without agents. And on a regular hot market, you would expect on a Monday to have 2 or 3 offers, right? If you have 15 people, that's pretty good. 6 or 7 is kind of normal, at least here in Orange County. But 16 people showed up. They got an offer today, and it was $30,000 under the asking price, not more. It was under.
Yeah.
And even though the buyers were there, while there were 4 or 5 other groups, so the buyers knew, hey, there's an open house. There was a lot of traffic because they were there for quite a while with the agent. They went away to the one down the street and came back, and they still came with 30,000 under, not over. So what does that tell you as an agent or a broker? What does that signify in any area?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything is really based on price and what the buyer sees, the value to the buyer, right? So, they don't care. They don't feel obligated to give a full price offer if it's the first weekend on the market. That doesn't really matter.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah. So one of the things I want to discuss about is 2 things. The first thing I want to discuss is we're going to get to the affordability of the home buyers, what's happening with the affordability, which is very low. In fact, it's historic lows. But one of the things that's happening is if you look at this report here from the Business Wire, it just came out a few months back. The US housing market has nearly 500,000 more sellers than buyers, the most on record. That will likely cause home prices to fall. Now, given that this was in May, and we haven't seen more sellers than buyers in the last 6-7 years, right? So which means that when there's more buyers, there's more inventory, which is true. In last year, nationwide, of course, this is an average, but on average, the inventory is up 30%, right? In some areas, it's down. In some areas, it's up, like Florida and Texas, it may be up 50% in certain areas. So the question is, if there's more sellers than buyers, so it should be a buyer's market, but it's not a buyer's market because home prices are still high. So isn't it typical that when there's more sellers and more listings, the prices drop? So what do you think the prices are not dropping even though there's more inventory? How come the prices are not dropping, or should they drop? What do you think?
I think we just haven't hit that threshold where there's an oversupply, because there can be, we're not balanced, right? We have more inventory than we have buyers, but we're not at a point where that no one's buying anything and everything's sitting on the market. There's still a healthy amount of buyer demand out there. And it is forcing, it is putting downward pressure on prices, that they are starting to come down. But they're not crashing because we don't have, a massive oversupply. We're still, I think, trying to build up inventory from a massive undersupply that we had, 5 years ago. So that's where I think that is one of the things. And I think we'll probably talk more about this too, but that lock-in effect is one of the things keeping that inventory from going crazy. It's just really hard to let go of a 2, 3, 4% interest rate right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest reason is that, in fact, I did a video last week. It was about what's happening with the housing market, and one of the viewers made a comment. So I got 3.3%, 30-year, and I'm never going to sell. That was his thing. and he was, and he's never going to sell. And I have 2.5 and I'm not going to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I got 2.5. I've got 4 more years left. I'm not going to sell my house. Of course, if I buy something, it'll be all cash. But, when I move, you have capital gains tax. I've been here a long time. I may have, if I buy a new one, most likely, if I buy, not that I'm going to buy, I would buy a brand new home, whether it's California or Texas or Florida. Chances are it'll have HOA fees. So I'm not going to risk buying a home with HOA and then it skyrockets like the pandemic going on right now with HOA and insurance. So, there's a lot of people that are not going to move because of the interest rate. And one of the reasons of the shortage is because of inventory is not rising sharply, although it has gone up. And it won't go sharply. Like you said, there has to be a threshold and we're not got there yet. My personal opinion is going to take 2 or 3 years to get to that threshold if we do. But with this golden cuffs that we call with 2 or 3%, I don't think we are going to get there.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I think different areas, will be affected more so than others. Right. And we're already seeing that in pricing. But I think a lot of what is happening is a slower correction and softening than any sort of crash, unless we start to see a lot of distressed sellers, which would change the game. But, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see that or not.
Yeah. Let me read this out from Business Wire because it's coming from them regarding the 500,000 more sellers. There are estimated 1.9 million home sellers in the U.S. housing market and an estimated 1.5 million home buyers, according to a new report from Redfin, the technology-powered real estate brokerage, etc. There are 33% more sellers than buyers as a number of, let's see here. At no other point in records dating back to 2013 have sellers outnumbered buyers by this large of a number or percentage. A year ago, sellers outnumbered buyers by just 6.5%, and 2 years ago, buyers outnumbered sellers. So this is a significant change, yet it hasn't made a real impact. Sumir, my friend, is online here. Hey, hello, Sumir. So the other one, so going back to the affordability, remember I mentioned, let's talk about the affordability. So let me remove this screen here. Let me see, I'll stop this screen and share another one if I can find it. That one is on affordability. Let's see the Guardian here. If I can find it here. So here's the article. Can you see it on the screen?
No, can't see it yet.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see here. I thought okay. There you go. Sorry about that. Okay, now you can see, right?
Yep.
Okay. So it says here, and this is from the Guardian, and let's see what the date this came out, because I usually try to use recent articles, and this is pretty recent. I can't find the date here for some reason. Let me cancel this. So it says here that why is the number of first-time U.S. homebuyers at a generational low? So on one hand, we have more sellers, but on the other hand, we also have the least amount of home buyers. I mean, it's a contradiction. Young Americans are holding off on buying a home with the average age in 2024 being a record high of 38. A cornerstone of the American dream is drifting out of reach. The estimated number of first-time homebuyers in the U.S. dropped to a little more than 1.1 million in 2024, according to data from the National Association of Realtors, shared with The Guardian, the lowest level since NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, started tracking new buyers in 1989. Economic instability is keeping the housing market as a standstill, with the number of new homeowners at its lowest point in 3 decades. How did we get here? And the last paragraph is, home prices and mortgage rates remain high years after the peak pandemic housing boom. It's unclear when the relief will come, and as Donald Trump's erratic policies on trade and economy heightens uncertain, economists fear the consequences may be felt for a generation. Okay, that was a little bit too outside the league for my conversation. But what we get is, on one hand, inventory is increasing, there's more sellers. On the other hand, buyers are still holding back. On a typical market, as you know, the higher the number of listings and inventory, there'll be more buyers because you can negotiate, right? And you can negotiate, ask for closing costs, ask for repairs, ask for lower price. But that's not happening. I mean, does that surprise you, or did you expect that to happen, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I think that's just the situation that we're in. When buyers have choices, they're not going to be forced to do what the seller wants,
Mhm.
and how the tide has turned, because I think a
Right,
lot of buyers are like, oh, it's revenge now,
right, right.
so there's that. But I think too, like, the generationally, looking at groups like, millennials have bought a lot of homes, but they haven't bought as many homes, I think, as you would have expected. I think
Mhm.
there are a lot of millennials that have held back because they're concerned about a crash, because they saw their parents go through 2008,
Right.
and they have a little bit of like PTSD, for lack of a better
Mhm.
term,
Yeah.
and have held back. And then you have Gen Z, who, in previous generations at their age would be buying homes, and they're not. Their lifestyles are very different.
Right, right.
We also have, lifestyles that can be a lot more fluid and remote and work from anywhere, more than we've had in the past.
Right,
So people, have different opinions on home ownership now. So I think there's kind of just been a shift in that in a lot of ways.
right.
Plus, then you add on the affordability factor, and that really dampens the buyer demand across the board.
Exactly. Very true. Yeah. We got a comment from Chase and then another one from Susan. So let's look at that. Chase is saying that thanks for the great content, guys. Thank you for watching. Think we can all agree that a Fed rate might not translate into a reduced 10-year note. Would love your thoughts there later in the show. Do you want to talk about this, or you want to talk about it later?
Oh,
Okay.
sure, we can talk about it now.
Okay. I'll let you
Um,
answer that.
Sure. I mean, I'm not a mortgage rate expert, and all the ins and outs of that, but I agree. I think that we may not see that shift. I One of my videos that's coming out tomorrow, I'm talking a little bit about mortgage spreads,
Mhm.
and how those spreads have kind of kept mortgage rates pretty stable lately, and not we're not, even though economic data has been coming out hotter than expected, we're not seeing a lot of movement in mortgage rates.
Right.
I think a lot of people get confused too on the Fed funds rate. If the Fed cuts the rate, it doesn't mean that mortgage rates go down,
Mhm.
and oftentimes they can even go up. So
Right.
I think, hanging on to hope for what the Fed does is not going to really affect mortgage rates directly, but
Mhm.
obviously, their commentary is what then can make
Right.
moves in the market, change mortgage spreads, and then we.
Hello. Oh,
Oh,
she got. Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
back.
Okay. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't
Yeah.
know where you lost me, but that's kind of my thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
Okay, good, good. Oh, by the way, can you? I'll be putting for you watching, everybody. Thanks for watching. Caitlin's information and her YouTube channel, I'll be putting it on the description as soon as we're done with the live. But in the meantime, I don't know if you can go to comments. If you can put your website there, your channel, I'll put it on the screen, so at least they can look at it while we're
Sure.
on here. So
Yeah.
in the meantime, let me go to Susan. Susan Burrow, thanks for watching and your comments. She's saying that everything is at a very high prices now. Food, electricity, rent, house, it's all going to bust, which is very true. Everybody's feeling it. I feel it myself. I've owned my house for 25 years. I've been paying like clockwork, but several things happened to me. One, my HOA went up, my insurance skyrocketed, my property tax is going up every year. So I'm feeling it myself, and everybody's feeling it. In fact, if there's my prediction, if there is a reason for a crash, it's because of two. Number one, it's because of the insurance crisis, especially in certain states like Florida, Texas, Nebraska. I don't know about Arizona, but there's some fire danger there. And the second would be the property tax jumps. Some states, some cities, some counties, they've jumped 2-3 times. I did a video a few weeks ago where the homeowners cannot afford their payments. They've jumped from $3,000 to 7,000, 2,000 to 4,000, 2,000 to 5,000. These are true cases. And those people are losing homes. They're talking to the banks because of property tax and insurance. Who would have thought about that? On top of that, what Susan is saying is, my electricity, I just got my bill for electricity and water from last year. It doubled. I won't say how much it is, but it literally doubled. And I looked at the details on, there's baseline and non-baseline. My bill doubled from last year, and I using the same amount of water. It hasn't been that hot, so my water consumption is not a lot more, maybe a little bit more, but it's doubled. So you're absolutely right, Susan. You're absolutely right, and it's gonna bust, and we'll see when it's gonna bust. Everybody's saying that it's gonna bust, and we'll just find out. In the meantime, let me put Caitlin McGee's YouTube channel if you want to take a picture, because you can't link it, but here it is. So go to our channel if you have any questions. She's an expert. She's a top producer. She knows the market. She's in Phoenix, but she also knows the Phoenix or surrounding areas. Feel free to call her up, direct message her, and she'll be glad to help you or answer any question. We have another comment I'm going to put on from Old School. Thanks for watching. Just wait till you need to replace your roof. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was talking to an agent who was who was a guest on my channel 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about getting insurance in Florida. She said unlike California, and I don't know if this is true in Phoenix, when they get insurance in Florida, they have 4 points they have to pass. One of them is your HVAC, one of them is your roof, one of them is your electrical, and the fourth, I don't know if it was plumbing, but those have to be correct. And because of the hurricanes in Florida in the last 2-3 years, the Ian and the Milton, a lot of the homeowners cannot get insurance because their roofs are damaged. And a lot of the homeowners have been in the house for 25 years. And I've always say this, Americans today, including me and everybody else, they're equity rich, but they're cash poor, meaning they have a lot of equity in the house. I've been here for 25 years. I got a lot of equity. And when I say me, I'm talking in general, but they don't have cash in the bank. So these Floridians, especially seniors, fixed income, when the insurance says, we'll give you insurance, it's going to be triple, but you got to fix your roof. They don't have the money to fix the roof because the roof are ridiculously priced. So Old School, I totally get what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. Everything's expensive, especially, I called a plumber the other day, and just to come out here is $100. Then there is a service charge of $80, and then there's parts and labor. It charges me transportation fee. The $100 is the gas fee. But anyway, that's a new story here. So let's talk about the next topic, which is the national forecast. Are there mild dips, or the price is going to go up, or prices are going to go down? So in your opinion, do you want to make any, I know we're not predictors, we're not economists, we're just sharing our insight based on what we talk to other brokers and buyers. What do you think is happening in Phoenix area as far as prices goes? And what do you think is going to happen nationally? In the meantime, I'm going to find a screen to share that I would like to share.
Yeah. Well, I think here in Phoenix, we've seen prices come down. I think it's reasonable to expect them to soften a little bit more through the rest of the year, unless we see a pretty big change in mortgage rates, or if our supply is really restricted, constricted. I don't know that will happen. So I could see some continued softening in prices. I think nationally, it really depends on the region. There's areas like Florida, places in Texas, Colorado, places of California, all of those seeing price declines. And then we see a lot of like Midwest up into the East Coast that are seeing price appreciation. So, it really depends on the area. It's very hard to give a blanket, national home prices down by X amount, because some places are not seeing that at all.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, we always say this, market is local. I'm in Anaheim Hills. Next to me is City of Orange and City of Yorba Linda. My Anaheim Hills may be going down, but Orange may be going up. There's so many variations. There's schools, there's construction going on, or there's hospital coming in one city, there may be one city might be closer to the airport, so there's a lot of noise. So there's a lot of variations. But I want to take a look at this article here. Let's see, which one is it? I got so many here. Okay, this article is from Resi Club. I follow Resi Club. They have a lot of good data and up-to-date data. So it talks about Zillow projects the US home prices will fall 0.9% between April 2025 and April 2026. Zillow economists had previously expected national home price would rise in this year. I'm going to read further one more paragraph. This week, Zillow economists published, let me see what the date is on this. The date is May 20th. So it's a little bit dated, but it's, all the data is 90 days anyways. This week, Zillow economists published their updates 12-month forecast, projecting that US home prices as measured by Zillow Home Value Index, HMI, will fall between 0.1% between April 2025 and 2026. And I will say I kind of disagree with that, because I've seen a lot of other reports where they say the prices are going to go up. So sorry, Zillow, I'm going to disagree with that. Because, and I'll tell you why. Not that I'm an expert, but based on a lot of data, HES, which is the Home Economic Survey, they do a lot of surveys, and this is a survey done by 100 top experts in the real estate industry. They're saying that the home prices will keep going up until 2028, 0.5 to 1% up. So Zillow is saying it's going to go down. In fact, in 2024, Zillow predicted that the home prices are going to go down in 2025. In 2025, nationally, the home prices actually went up. So guess what Zillow did in June, or in whenever the 6 months period was? They upped their prediction because prices went up. Now they're saying that it's going to drop next year. So Zillow was wrong totally. In fact, Redfin and Zillow both were totally wrong. So I don't rely on one data. I'm relying on HES a lot because they have 100, and which includes Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Wells Fargo, and they take a combination and then put on that. So what they're saying is that prices are going to go up. So the confusion, not only to me, but I'm sure if you're a buyer or a seller or even realtors, the confusion is, on one hand, we're hearing two things when it comes to sellers. There are a lot more sellers than buyers. Inventory is up, which means the buyers should be buying, but they're not buying, which means home prices should be coming down, but they're not coming down. So this is a crazy market. Never seen anything like this. In 2008, I'm not sure if you were there during that market, Caitlin. Were you there in the recession?
I wasn't, no.
Okay, I was there. So I saw it. First of all, we didn't know what was happening. I remember my scenario when I could not sell anything. In 2005, 2006, we couldn't sell anything. So I kept on advertising. I used to do mail outs, realtors. I doubled my advertising, tripled my advertising. Nothing's happening. We were scratching, what the heck's going on? Then we found out there's a major recession because nobody knew. So when your production goes down, you try to make it more, right? Call more, door knock more, talk to more people, but nothing was happening. Then we found out we have a problem. So during that time, the inventory rose to a 10-month high, 10 to 11 months high. So the prices came down. So in the recession, when inventory went up, prices came down. What's happening right now? Inventory is going up and the buyers are coming down and home prices are not dropping. So it's a very I'm just kidding. It's a very confusing market, and we'll just have to monitor what's happening. So one of the things I want to show in this map, that's why I picked this article, is that Zillow forecasts for more metro level home prices change between 25 and 26. If you notice over here, it says a negative means they're going to drop, and a positive blue means it's going to go up. So according to Zillow, everything is brown or red. That means it's going to drop. And if you look over here, let me make sure you can see it. Yeah, you can see that. Among the 300 largest US metro area housing markets, Zillow expects the strongest home price appreciation between April and April 26 to occur in these 10 areas. They took the top areas. Atlantic City, Kingston, New York, Torrington, Knoxville, Rochester, Syracuse, Vineland, New Jersey, Fayetteville, Concord, and Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. And then let's look at the 300 top 10 that the prices are going to drop in the 10 areas. Louisiana, Houma, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Is it Louisiana, LA? Okay. Alexandra, everything's Louisiana. I don't know why. Lafayette, Louisiana. Shreveport, Louisiana. Beaumont, Texas. Midland, Texas. Monroe, Louisiana, and Odessa, Texas. That's interesting. Everything's in Louisiana. Don't know why. So here was their prediction last year. Zillow from April to April 26. They had a mix of a lot of reds. That means a price drop, and a lot of blues. And right now, it is true. These cities, I think you mentioned it too, right, Kathleen? The Northeasterns are gaining momentum. They're still gaining momentum this year, are they? Which they did last year as well, right? Yeah. So that's very true. Does this stat surprise you at all? Or, I mean, does it make sense to you?
It does make sense. I mean, it doesn't, Zillow has their own, if we just start with the Zestimate,
I know, right.
We all have our opinions on that. So Zillow is always trying to provide, they obviously collect a lot of data. They do have a lot of information, but I don't know that they're really like housing analysts. So unfortunately, they're, people think that they're fact a lot of the time, and it's their information isn't always the best. I don't know if you've seen on their website lately, they have the recommended offer price. Have you seen that?
I heard about it today in the meeting where they say, if this is the house, you should recommend it offer it, but you have to be a special agent paying extra to get that, right?
I'm not sure how it works, but the consumer can see what Zillow recommends as an offer price. And so
and they're way off. Yeah.
It's not always correct. And then sellers are like, why is Zillow saying that? Like I'm advertising my house on your website, and now you're telling a buyer to make a low offer and that's acceptable. It's kind of interesting.
And same thing with Redfin. I'm going to be listing a fourplex next week. Hopefully, I mean, they told me verbally they're going to give me the listing and blah, blah, blah. So I asked him, hey, based on your market, what do you think you should list it at? And the first thing he says, well, Redfin is saying it's worth 1.69. So what I did the next day, I talked to him. I went to Zillow, Trulia, NAR, RPR, and Realtor.com. They were all under 1.2. Redfin's at 1.6, and he wants to list at 1.6. And other four, so they are all false. So consumers, we don't have to tell you this. Don't rely on online data because they're false. They don't know what's going on. Redfin doesn't know what the income is. Multi-homes are based on income. Zillow and Redfin has no idea what the income is. So how can they predict 1.2 or 1.6? They're totally off. I think they're cheating the consumers, my opinion, So. But I mentioned Redfin and Zillow because no matter what we say, a lot of the consumers go to Redfin and Zillow because they have big advertising money. So they're all over the consumers. So that's my 2 cents on that. So I'm going to answer some questions, Caitlin, quickly here. Cosmiro, what do you feel about solar on the roof? I personally don't like them. I would not recommend them. And if there's a house for sale with a roof, there's a 50% chance the escrow is going to fall out. And this is my personal experience, So, Old
we have
school,
a lot of solar here. And I think I agree. If you're going to get solar, then buy it outright. Don't lease it.
Exactly.
And don't have a loan payment, because when you go to sell that, no buyer wants to assume your loan and no buyer wants to assume your lease. In fact, they may not even qualify for it. So there's very few buyers that I work with that say we have to have solar on the house we're looking for. Most of the time it's like, oh, it comes with solar. Well, how much extra is that going to cost me? So it's really, unfortunately, not a huge benefit. The only way it can be a value add is if it's paid for, fully owned. And that's a lot of money. Like that's like 30 to 50 grand that you got to put into something, and then you sell it. You are not getting any of that really back.
I'll tell you a quick story. I used a TikTok clip on my video I did 3 weeks ago on whether to use solar or not. You can check it out if you want. There's a house that an investor bought. It was in the East Coast. The house was worth $150,000. And guess how much the solar cost them to put on that house? Guess. It's very high.
30 to 50 grand.
$80,000.
80. Oh my
The
goodness.
house is worth $150,000 and they put $80,000. What my topic on the solar was, you are being scammed by the solar people who sell you. You know, the people don't knock on your door.
Oh
They
yeah.
probably make 20 grand commission on it because it's probably worth 20 grand. But yeah, $80,000. Check out that video if you like.
Wow. Wow.
So
It's a lot.
I wouldn't put solar in my roof. Adding a lot of extra work anytime may work. Anytime any work had to be done to your roof. Well, thanks for the comments. Here's one from Bruce. Those are all low cost of living areas. People will move there, so yes, it will go up. So I'm assuming they're talking about the prices where homes are lower or the roof cost was lower. Bruce, if you're still watching, let us know what area you're talking about. So, you know, and then Cosmiro mentioned again that I'm in Victory at Verado, Phoenix area. New builds selling well. Are you familiar with that area, Caitlin? Is
I
that
am. Yeah. Yeah. That's great to hear because the Buckeye area is one of those areas that has suffered a little bit. Just being kind of having so much new construction inventory. So it's great to hear that they're selling well.
Right. Yeah. And you know, in California, I don't know if you have that regulation, but now in California, 3 years ago, they have a new law. Anytime you buy a brand new house or build a brand new house, townhouse, whatever, you must have a solar on it. So I just sold a brand new house in Fontana 3 months ago, and you are required to put a solar. So it's, you pay for the house. The house was 1.1 and they had to pay additional 40,000 for the roof.
Wow.
You must have a roof on a brand new construction, including condos. So when you sign the contract, they'll make you sign that you're going to put a condo. You must order it before you close escrow.
Wow. Very
to have it installed. I mean, you can install it in a couple of months later, but you must have solar on brand new homes. That's a new California law. So I don't know if other states have it or not.
Yeah, not here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So that makes sense. So going back to how much prices are going to fall, who knows? My personal opinion, based on a lot of reports I read, nationwide, they're going to go up anywhere from 1 to 3% per year until 2028. This is what I've read. But of course, Louisiana, Florida, we're seeing big price drops. Naples, for example, there's another town, Jupiter or somewhere, prices have dropped already 10%. So there are some places dropping, but overall, nationally speaking, they're going up. California, we're still seeing, not California, I'm going to talk about North Orange County or Orange County. I haven't seen any price drops. Overall, they're still increasing. Phoenix is pretty stable, or is it going up or down, you think? Or
I think it's softening a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Softening, yeah. But it's not jumping down 10%. I mean, you know, going down 10% or going up 10% or anything.
Nope.
Okay.
It's not too crazy right now.
Right. Okay. Let me share another slide here. We're going to talk about this. This is pretty interesting that I found out about this. Okay. We were talking about, you know, when the market slows down, and I know there's a lot of homes in Phoenix, right? Are there still a lot of homes in Phoenix?
Mm-hmm.
So in Texas and Florida, when I was talking to another agent that was a guest on mine, she said there's a lot of new homes overall in Texas, especially Houston area, Austin area, Dallas area. And a lot of them are not selling. And a lot of these new builders are giving a lot of incentives. They're giving loan buy downs. They're giving you 2.99. In fact, there's a builder near Orange County. They're giving 4.99% commission, interest rates, fixed, and they're giving 3% to agents, which they never gave before. Now they're giving us 3%. They're giving us ice cream when we go there before they say, get out of here. So that's how builders are. They're greedy. Sorry to say that. But a lot of the builders are giving a lot of incentive because a lot of inventory. What's happening in Phoenix as far as builders goes? And I'm going to show you an article, the reason I'm asking, you know.
Yeah, same here. Lots of incentives. Even some builders have brought their base prices down, which you never really see. So that's not everyone, but in some cases they have in different communities. But lots of incentives with 2-1 buy downs,
Okay.
covering up to 10,000 in closing costs, being able to negotiate. And this is not only like on new homes, but like spec homes too. And I know previously they wouldn't do much on the spec home side of things. Like the most of the deals that they were giving were going to be if you're building new, and the spec homes kind of came as they were, but they're also offering a lot of incentives on specs as well. So yeah, seeing similar things here. You can really get a lot more incentives and a better interest rate and closing cost coverage and stuff like that if you go the new build route.
Right. Yeah, there is advantage of buying a new homes, and some areas are giving a lot of incentives. There is a town in Florida. The homes are around $800,000. They've overbuilt. They're giving up to $75,000, or they were giving a few months ago up to $75,000 in incentives, upgrades, closing costs, rate buy down, up to $75,000, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's a ton.
Yeah, that's a ton. Yeah, this one is Fast Company. Let's look at this. This came out. What's today, the 19th, right? This article came out yesterday. It's from Fast Company. It says here that unsold, completed new build inventory is so high. This 34 billion home builder, which is Lennar, is turning to investors, and not just any investors. What? Let me read this so you can get an idea. Lennar, America's second largest home builder, just launched Lennar Investor Marketplace. Remember, this just came out yesterday, this article. A portal for mom and pop landlords to find deals from Lennar. So what are they doing? If you look further, let's read up here. Want more housing market stories from Lennar's Lambert Resi Club in your inbox? Blah, blah. Okay, so let's read this. As public home builders work to clear rising levels of unsold completed inventory in softer Sunbelt housing markets, they're not only upping their incentives spent for home buyers, they're also stepping up efforts to attract housing market's biggest investor group, mom and pop landlords. Look no further. This week, Lennar launching the Lennar Investor Marketplace, the home builder, which has $34 billion market capitalization, says portal allows investors at any level to browse curated new homes and make informed data-driven decisions. That's pretty interesting.
I think Lennar, of all the builders too, because they were one of the only that stopped paying agents in 2021, 2022, whenever that was. Builders were still paying agents and offering compensation, and Lennar was the one that was like, yeah, we don't do that anymore, sorry. And because they had so much demand, and now sorry.
And now, are they paying commission now?
Yeah, they're back at it.
When you go in the office, do they welcome? Oh, hi, Mr. Patel. Come on in. Here's ice cream. Here's wine. Sit in our cold water on air-conditioned office. Now they do that because now they cannot sell. But when the market's hot, hey, get the heck out of here. We don't want to talk to realtors. Zero commission. I mean, come on. Be professionals, builders. I'll put it, because we hear that a lot from agents. Sometimes we don't get treated right, but that's okay. We are here to serve our clients what's best for them. So when we bring clients to new builders, we want them to buy whether they pay us a commission or not. If that's what they want, we'll show it to them. So one thing we'll do, we may complain about builders, but one thing we'll do is we'll treat our buyers right, whether we get paid or not. If they want to see new homes, we'll bring them out there. Even if you don't give us water when we come in, we'll still bring them there.
Lennar was in some hot water in Phoenix for some, I can't remember the details, but it was some sort of construction issue with homes that were built in a certain community in the West Valley. I think they were kind of under fire for some quality issues. So they had some bad publicity for a while.
Right. Wow, that's pretty bad. I wasn't that the same with D.R. Horton? They went through a lot of bad construction, a lot of complaints after the buyers move in. There was a big several articles on major news channel that I read and also saw on YouTube. A lot of these builders were having a lot of issues because starting 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, they were building so fast they could not keep up with it. And the quality of the building, the quality of the material, I can go on and on. they have a lot of issues right now, a lot of lawsuits going on, and a lot of the builders are going back and fixing a lot of things and making it right, because a lot of the homeowners who bought brand new homes in those areas are having a hard time or having a lot of deficiencies in the house. Water leaks, air conditioners not working, cheap windows, cheap wood, the 2x4s. So they're having a lot of issues,
That's why it's important to get a third-party inspection on new construction. We have a inspector here who has a YouTube channel. His name is Cy Porter, and he has a massive following because he's just kind of exposing new construction and how poorly some things are done. And it's interesting. So if anyone out there is considering new construction and looking for an inspector, he's your guy. But he's also booked out like super far, I think, too. So
really, okay, for the new home construction, right?
Yeah. The news did a story. He was again like getting some attention because builders were pretty upset about him exposing all of these things, and so they were kind of going at it. But he's been doing this a long time, so
right.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the next topic, which is what I hear, and I'm sure you've heard about a lot, and there's not a whole lot we can say. But because inventory is rising, there's more buyers, and buyers. I get asked once a week from people or buyers, say, hey, when is the market going to crash and when can I buy foreclosures? There, I said it. So do you have any foreclosures in your area? Or if you don't have it, or if you have it, what's going on with the foreclosures in your neighborhood? Then we'll talk about the national, what's going to happen, because people are waiting for foreclosures, right?
Yeah. So in my video that comes out tomorrow, I'm actually talking a lot about this. In Arizona, we have a notice of trustee sale, and you have 90 days to come due with your payments before, and be able to keep your house before it would actually go into foreclosure. So I know not every state is like that, but that's how it works here. But what we're seeing is, even though there's still a small percentage of homes that are actually going into foreclosure, that has risen year over year, and we're actually seeing those homes go through to auction. Whereas before we were seeing a rising number in that notice of trustee sale, but then they were reverting back, they were able to sell them, they were, whatnot. So it's a testament to how tough the market is right now. People get these notice of trustee sales, they try to sell it and, get caught up with the lender and move on and not go into foreclosure, but they're not able to sell it for the price that they need to. And then it does end up going to auction. That plus we're also seeing a lot of those homes that went to auction, a larger percentage not being bought by cash buyers and actually reverting back to the bank. So there's going to be some REOs coming up too. So that's an interesting trend that has just started that we're trying to keep our eye on with foreclosures here. Obviously, foreclosure numbers look massive when you compare it to 2022, 2021 numbers. So you have to take that with a grain of salt, but we are seeing a faster rise in this than you would expect to be typical. So more to come on
these
that.
Homeowners, go ahead.
I was just saying more to come on that.
Right. So are these foreclosures from home sales for the last few years or from past? Because I know that FHA, a lot of the people who bought in 21, 22, 23, there's up to 2 million FHA loans in default or behind in payments. And these were homes that were sold after 2020.
I don't know. And that's a really good question. I'm not sure when the purchase date is on all of these, or if they have that correlated in the charts that I was looking at, but I'd be interested to see if I could get more info on that.
So here's the question that I think foreclosures are not going to hit in a big way, maybe in a certain way, but if there's a foreclosure today, right? You talked about this, they are going to auction. Don't they have equity in there? Because a lot of the homes have equity. So even if they bought in 2022, I'm sure if they bought for 250, it's worth 325 or 300. So they got equity in there. So what's happening with equity? I mean, they should be able to sell it and walk away,
Yeah. Well, like you said, it depends on when you purchased, because if they
Hmm.
purchased last year or the year before, anytime after 2022, they may not have very much equity depending on what type of loan they got and what that looks
Right,
like. If they did even like, some of those buy down programs and now they can't afford the payment and that's gone way up compared to what they expected. Number of factors there. So I think the problem is like in the past, if you had some equity and you had this like notice of trustee sale, you could list your house and get out of it quickly. But now you really got to work hard to sell a house. And so if you can't get that number that you need, you're going into foreclosure.
right, right.
It's changed.
Yep, yeah. Okay, let's see here. Can you hear music here or no? There's
Yes,
no
I
mu-
can.
Oh, I thought I had turned it off. Let me see here. Oh, there you go. Sorry about that. It was
No
off, and
worries.
then somehow I must have, when I went down, I must have increased the volume on it. Sorry about that. It wasn't too bad, so it's okay.
No, it was low.
So yeah, so my thought is that a lot of the people who are going into foreclosure, they can still walk away selling it and not owe the bank anything, so they don't have to be a short sale or go to RE or companies, because they have equity, so much equity. So even if you're behind a year on payments, even after penalties, you should have enough to sell it and walk away. That's
Mhm,
my thought. But of course, if they bought, like you said, 1 or 2 years, then especially in Texas or Florida or some areas of Arizona where prices might have dropped, the equity is not enough because you still have closing costs, commissions, back payments, penalties. Maybe you have to hire an attorney. Each state is different. Some of them go through escrow, some of them go through attorneys,
mhm,
so it could
mhm,
add up. So yeah, that's very true. I
mhm.
want to look at this chart here. It's from Atom, Atom, Attom. Let me see here if I can see the chart. There you go. And it says here, it came out August 15th, just a few days ago. It talks about foreclosure rates for all 50 states in July. So let's look at some of the stats. Let's look at the red states. For example, Nevada, they're saying that 1 in every 2,300 homes is in foreclosure or is going in foreclosure. This state here, Illinois, is 1 in 2,700 homes. Um, Indiana is 1 in every 2,700 homes. Ohio, 1 in 3,000 homes. Florida is one in every 2,400 homes. Texas, one in almost 3,000 homes. It just shows you these are some of the states they picked, I guess. In July 2025, foreclosure activity across US increased month over month, with a total of 36,128 properties with foreclosure filings, including default notices, scheduled auctions, or bank repossessions, which is up 11% from June and up 13% from July 2024. Nationwide, one in every almost 4,000 housing units face a foreclosure filing. States with the worst foreclosure rates were Nevada. It's the states we just looked at. And the last paragraph, it says here the total of 24,000 properties entered the foreclosure process in July, making a 12% increase from June and an 11% rise compared to a year ago. At the same time, lenders completed foreclosures on 3,800 properties, down 1% from previous month, but up 18% from July. So it's up from last year, but it's not significant, right? I mean,
Mhm. Yep. And I think that's the biggest thing is it's like you can look at these numbers and anywhere they're going to be up significantly from the very low lows that we saw in the early 2020 range, but as they, when you look back in history and especially if you look at numbers from like '08, '09, it's usually pretty minimal.
right, right. Okay. There's a question from Arizona. Do you want to take that? It's from Boys. Thanks for your comment. I'll have Caitlin answer that.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you what's going to happen in Arizona. I think what I always say is if you have a need to buy, if you're buying a home for the long term, right? Not something that you're trying to flip, not something that you're just, hoping to make as an investment property. If you're buying for utility, and it makes sense and you have the money and a stable job, I think it's a good time to buy, especially if you can take advantage of new build incentives, and you plan to be there long term. As we all know, real estate appreciates over the long term. It's, of course, there's going to be some dips throughout, but overall, real estate appreciates. So if you buy now and you get use out of the home and it serves a purpose for you and you don't think you're going to sell for another 10 plus years, I don't think now is a bad time to buy. You may buy and see that next year your value is lower than it was this year. You may see that it's higher. It's really hard to predict, but unless you have to sell at a time that's not a good time to sell, you're likely not going to lose money on it, especially if you plan to hold long term.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's what I would say. If I was to give quote any advice or suggestions to buyers right now, in fact, I did a video actually on my buyers channel, and I actually said that right now it's cheaper and better to rent than to buy. And here's the 3 reasons why I say that. Number one, you only buy right now if you're going to stay there for at least 7 to 10 years, because chances are prices are going to go down and it may take 7 to 2 years for it to come up, because we've been going up and up and up since 2011. First time in history we've gone up 15 years up, and there's still prediction for 3 more years up. Then what's going to happen? It may go down. Tariffs has not hit us yet, right? And still prices are sky high. People cannot afford Starbucks or eggs or groceries or gas or utilities. They've gone sky high. Property taxes has gone sky high. Insurance has gone sky high. So if you're buying now, plan on staying there for 10 years. The other thing I tell my buyers, in fact, I had a Zoom conversation, a consultation with my buyer yesterday, and I told her that her payment right now comes out at about $4,000 a month, principal, interest, tax, insurance. And I told her that if in 2 years, if you are not able to afford $4,500 a month payments, don't buy it. Why do I say that? Because chances are in California, your property tax is going to go up for sure. Your insurance is going to go up for sure. Your maintenance cost is going to go up. So if you don't feel comfortable paying $4,500 2 years from now, don't buy it, because chances are everything's going to go up. Your gas bill, if you have kids, the diapers, if you have mom and dad caring for them, your medication is going to go up. But for sure, HOA, property tax, insurance overall is going to go up. So even though your payment's $3,000 right now, and if you buy a house for $3,000 right now and you can afford it, be prepared to pay $4,000 in 2 or 3 years, in 4 years. And if that kind of makes you nervous, wait and talk to a lender a little bit more deeply and more, what do you call deeply, in the sense more detail, because chances are your payment will go up even though it's a fixed payment. People get confused because, I have a fixed rate loan. Yes, your principal interest is fixed, but your tax, insurance, and if you have a new home, HOA is never fixed. So even though you have a fixed payment, it's never fixed. When you add tax, insurance, HOA, your maintenance cost is what? 1% or 1 to 3% of your housing price. If your AC goes out, it's going to cost you a lot. If you're in Florida, your roof goes out, it's going to cost you a lot. So if you're a buyer, be very cautious. Either put more down or buy a house. My third thing, what I told in them, is that if you have to buy, and if you qualified for, let's say in Orange County, you qualified for $1 million, buy 850 house if you can find one. Buy lower than what you can afford. That's what I tell my buyers is make sure you are good with payments. Make sure you're going to stay there for 10 years, and buy, if you're qualified for a $4,000 payment, buy something for $3,500. That's what I'm telling buyers as a caution. Here's a comment from Boy again. Maybe you want to take it. How will the jobs report along with Federal Reserve announcement affect mortgage rates?
It's a good question. I mean, kind of generally the rule is the weaker economic data that comes out, the better it is for mortgage rates or any sort of lending rates in general. And so the jobs report affects that quite a bit. And those jobs numbers have been pretty strong. We haven't seen a whole lot of weakening in the labor market, and that's what the Fed's been keeping an eye on. So once we start to see more weakness in the labor market, we will likely see the Fed make a decision to cut the rates. But as we talked about earlier, the federal funds rate is not the mortgage interest rate. So How it will affect mortgage rates, it kind of depends on what that economic data looks like. If jobs report's really strong, I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement in mortgage rates. If it is, showing a lot of weakness, then we may start to see some softening in rates. But it's kind of the combination of that plus inflation, tariffs are playing a role, all of these things that are happening on an economic landscape that really affect, what we see in rates.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, aren't they supposed to change the rates in September? I believe first or second week. This is the FOMC, and they're going to drop the federal funds rate, not the mortgage rates. So even
Right.
if the federal funds rate drop, we don't know if the mortgage rates are going to drop. Who knows?
Right.
So it's a long shot. I know the Trump administration, and not getting political, but the Trump administration really wants Powell to drop the rates, the mortgage rates, federal fund rate, and he wants the mortgage rates drop, because if the mortgage rates drop, it'll increase the activity in the housing market.
Mhm.
Let me share a screen. Let me give you some anything else you want to talk about to Boys 74 on the interest rate before I
No,
jump?
that covers it. Yeah.
Okay. I want to go quickly. Let me find that slide. It's on my desktop, and read out some stats on what happens if the rates drop. Let me find that quickly. I have it here somewhere. Let's see. Images. Oh,
I
here
get a
it is.
lot of comments on my videos about how it's not about rates, it's about prices. Just
Right.
while you're getting that up. And
Mhm.
I think it's interesting because there's kind of two camps, and I don't know how you feel about this when you talk to your buyers, but when I talk to my buyers, they're all about the rate, not
Mhm.
necessarily the price. I mean, the price does come into play, but like if they were to really say what holds them back the most, it's usually the rate rather than the price. Yet
Right.
I see so many comments about how stop talking about rates, it's not rates, it's that prices have gone up way too high in such a short amount of time and everything's
Mhm.
unaffordable. And, it's the combination, right? Like we can
Exactly.
have, as like long-term mortgage rate average is like 7.5% or 7.2 or something like that.
Mhm.
So like the where we're at with rates isn't abnormal, but when you pair that with a median home price that is in Phoenix 450,000 when in
Mhm.
2019 it was like 280, it's making a big difference if wages don't follow. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Everyone kind of has their opinion on rate versus price.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it depends on how much down you put, because FHA loans, you put 3.5% down. One of the reasons FHA loans are going default is, one, that they barely make 3.5% down. And then the rates are higher because it's FHA government loan, but easy qualification. So when they lose a job, or one of the people in the family loses a job, they have a problem, because they
Hmm.
barely afforded to buy the house. They pushed and shoved to get a loan. And now you have some emergency, medical issue, or one of the family members loses a job, then you can make payments. So
Hmm.
I found that slide, so let me share it. We were talking about the buyers and what will happen with the interest rate. And this slide is from the National Association of Realtors, just came out last month. So they saying that if the rates drop to 6%, not to 6.5, to 6%, here's what's going to happen. First thing they say is that if the rates drop to 6%, and then 5.5 million more households will be able to afford a home. And if the rates go to 6%, 550,000 people likely will buy within the 12 to 18 months who would not buy otherwise.
Mm,
So now
interesting.
that's a good stat, but here's what's wrong with that stat. What not wrong, but here's the other side of the stat. If the rates drop to 6% and all these people come on the market, right? Number one is going to create multiple offers, right? And what happens when there's multiple offers?
Prices go up.
Yep. So it's a good thing that the rates will come down. Let me see. I was trying to get out. Okay. Okay. It's a good thing that rates will go down, but if it drops to a significant amount, all of a sudden more people are going to be able to afford homes, and all these people will come into the buying pool, and you're going to see multiple offers, and then the prices are going to go up, which means back now you're going to pay more property taxes. Your payment's going to go up. Chances are your insurance will go up because the market's good now, so they're going to jack it up anyways, because insurance companies can do what they want. Look what they've done. My insurance has almost doubled in the last 3 years. Certain states, they've doubled, triple, quadruple. I mentioned to you earlier, I did a video, and these people talking in these TikTok clips, the payments have jumped from 3,000 to 7,000
Wow.
because the insurance doubled and tripled.
Yeah.
And these are facts. I'm not just saying it to say things. These are facts. I can send you the clip. Direct message me if you want to see the clip. I'll send you the clip. I'm not just saying it to just say things, So it's a very different market, and that's why I wanted to talk today. Because if you're a buyer, if you're a seller, if you're thinking about selling, if you're thinking about buying, based on what we discussed, it will give you an idea of what you need to go research. If you're in the Phoenix area, call or direct message Caitlin, and she'll talk to you, or she'll refer you to somebody in Phoenix. If you want to talk to somebody else in Florida or Texas, we have connections nationwide with the top 3 realtors nationwide. We'll be glad to talk to you personally. But if it's out of area, we'll connect you to people, to agents who are top agents, sell 10, 20, 30 properties per year, whereas what an average agent sells 3 properties a year. 80% of the agents out there sell 3 or less properties. So you want to talk to people who sell 10, 15, 20. So get the top 3%. We can hook you up. But to make a decision, don't make it on your own. Talk to a realtor, talk to a lender, talk to your accountant. Talk about capital gains tax. If I sell my house, the first thing I have to consider is capital gains tax. Nobody talks about it, right? And I have insurance tax consequences. So before you make a decision, start talking, start preparing 3, 4, 5, 6 months ahead. Here's another comment from, if you were to compare us to the 70s and early 80s, where would you be in that timeline? You think we are past the highest rates? I can answer that. If you look at the last 30-year history, in 1984, 85, or early 1980s, the interest rates were anywhere from 12 to 18%, and homes still sold. I was not in the business at that time. I started real estate in 96, but I remember people buying and saying that they were paying 12%, 13% fixed mortgage rates, and they still bought it. In 2021, they were as low as 2.5%. I refinanced my house back in 2016 at 3%. I did not refinance again at 2.5 in 2021 because I already had 3%. I didn't want to add another 7 years. But to answer your question, if you look at the average from 1980s to now, about 30 to 35 year period, the average is about 7%. I think you mentioned that earlier, 7.2%. So if we're at 6.8%, hey, you're lower than the average.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments on that? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we're going to see anything could happen. It's hard to say with like things that could change with economics that would fluctuate mortgage rates, but we kind of got to that point where people were like, are we hitting 8%? Are we going to go above that, a couple of years ago? And then things have started to regulate again. I think there's enough downward pressure on pricing right now where we're just kind of seeing a little bit of a correction. I don't know if rates need to go up drastically to get us to a better place. So I hope we never see 14% interest rates at these prices. Man. I don't think anyone's affording anything if that's the case.
Yeah. If it goes to 14%, the prices are going to have to come way down.
Way down.
The reason they could afford in 84, 85, 86, whenever that was, 12%, 13%, 18% rates was because home prices were at that time, the house today, $1 million home was selling at that time for like 180,000. So the prices were very low. So 18% on $150,000 house compared to 18% on $1 million house, it's way out of whack. So,
Yeah. Household incomes are playing a role in that too, because you have to, I think a lot of people talk about like wages, which is important, but you also have to remember that most of the time people are buying combined wages, right? It's a household income, not just an individual income. And so that's how affordability is still existing today. If 2 people make $100,000, then they have a $200,000 household income. They can afford, home prices today with rates. To buy that individually is a little bit harder. And so, going back to where we were talking about affordability, perhaps that's one of the factors too, is kind of alienating people who are trying to buy on their own if they don't have a really high earning job. So I don't know, just speculation on that.
But here's another thing on the side. My kids are both married, and they have a house, but they both work. They have to work. Yeah, they make more money. They can afford a bigger house. But guess what? They have nanny costs. When I bought my house, I didn't have a nanny cost or house sitting cost. They have a lot of extra cost, which the lenders don't look at, right? When they qualify you, here's an example. If I'm buying a house, lender's going to ask me questions. How much do you make? How much is your car payment? How much is your credit card? They're not going to ask me, hey, do your parents stay with you? Do you take care of your parents? Do you have kids? If I'm I'm not younger anymore. I'm not a 40-year-old. You have kids, and do you go to nursery school and pay over here? You got to pay $1,500 a month for nannies if you can find one.
Yeah.
They don't ask us that. So when I'm qualified for $4,000 a month, I still have $1,000 for nanny or $1,500 for nanny. My parents stay with me, so I buy them medical. I buy fruits and everything. I take them out. I have wheelchair to buy. That's why I'm saying that if you're a new buyer, be very cautious. Look out your 3-year payment, 4-year payment, and if you cannot afford that 3-year payment, don't buy. Rent.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
or buy below your means. Yeah,
for sure.
So, that's why we want to give you numbers so you can make a good decision based on your situation right now and 2 years later. Because just because you can afford a house right now, what's going to happen 2 years later? What if you are a couple, you're working, and one of you loses a job? One of you has a medical issue. Can you afford the payments and your household expenses based on one income for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months if one of you cannot work? Do you have an emergency fund? It's very, very, very important now more than ever before that you have 3, 4, 5, 6 months reserve funds, which means that if your household payment is about $3,000 or $4,000, have $25,000 in the bank account. Don't touch it, because if one of you loses a job, you have that payment. I'd rather you buy below your means and not lose your house, and don't buy that extra thing. So anyway, we're going to end this conversation. Caitlin, any last minute thing to buyers and sellers?
I think we covered a lot of ground,
Right.
And I think we both come from the same place where it's like, it's not a bad time to buy if you have the means and you can project out further, what your costs will be. And then on the seller side, there's a lot of areas, Phoenix being one of them, where it's not the rosiest time to sell, but you can still sell a home here for a solid price. It really just depends on your equity and, when you purchased before. But I think overall the market isn't about to crash, but I do think we are seeing a correction and some softening, which is kind of a healthier place to be, some more inventory. So we're seeing a lot of that in Phoenix and probably nationally as well. And if you're in Phoenix, our team does a free discovery call with buyers or sellers. So we're happy to chat with you. I have all those links on my channel. So if you visit that and want to chat with us about your situation, we're happy to talk through that and give you some of our advice.
Absolutely. Yes, we are here to help you. We're here to answer any questions. If we cannot answer it personally, we'll refer you to an agent, lender, escrow, or accountant. So hit us up. We're here to help you. We thank you for watching. I'm here on Tuesdays. We'll see you next week. And Caitlin, thanks a lot. Hopefully I can call you again. You can come back on the show.
Would be happy to. Thanks for having me,
Great.
Mike.
And Caitlin's info will be in the description in the next 5 minutes. I'll put it up. So please contact her if you have any questions regarding Arizona or Phoenix. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.